Good morning. Thank you very much. We are right now having the beauty of the changing weather here in Manhattan. It was good that we went to our tours yesterday. So we're going to give the opportunity to our plenary groups to give us a short summary of what they discussed in the roundtables on Tuesday afternoon. The idea is they will respond to 3 questions. What did they learn about the Science Day or on the Science Day? What did they learn from the panel discussions from Tuesday? And in view of these learnings, how do they see the future of livestock systems regarding the use of innovation? So thank you very much. We are going now to call the public sector and donors reporter. Okay. Lionel from the government of France. Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you, Eduardo, and hello, everybody. So I will make a summarize up of the discussion we had during the roundtable of donors and public sector. So the first question was, which was lessons learned from Science Day? So we have very dynamic discussions, and the first thing we noticed it was the integration of different dimensions and the development of an integrated approach, because we noticed that this integrated approach could enable the renewal of opportunities which were not only high-tech technologies but also innovation as a whole, and it could also reinforce science. Then we noticed also that during the Science Days, the main debate was on beef, and beef is now in the focus. But system should be looked as a whole integrating crop production, because we do not have to miss also others part of livestock like poultry, pigs, and so on. We had also a debate during the group about what is innovation, because we noticed that it could not be only high-tech, but it could also encapsulate low-tech technologies, because it also needs to focus on social aspects and not only on technological aspects. We had also one other question is, do we measure the right things, and have we got the correct data on board? So it's much more a discussion about the quality and quantity of data, and especially the link between GHG emissions, the unit of food. We had also the questions between the balance between nutritional values, the unit of land, and so on. We have also raised a point on the linkages between livestock and antimicrobial issues that are becoming more and more important, and we have that discussion through several examples, like increasing resistance through genetic approach, using plant-based treatments that are really successful right now, and so on. The main questions that came after was how livestock supports resiliency, because we noticed that productivity is a fact, it's increasing, but we noticed also that environmental impacts are also increasing. We have also noticed some limit of the Science Day. It was we were a bit we wanted to hear a bit more about extension or adoption by people, and we are the opinion that this kinds of theme needs to be developed during the next sessions. And we wanted also to hear a bit more about the linkages between livestock and circular economy. So that was for the Science Day. Then we had also made the same work for the lessons we learned from Policy and Trade Day. So the first thing we noticed, or some country or some people noticed also, that the levels of standards seems too high for some countries compared to global requirements. But we noticed that this kind of thinking depends on the capacities countries, because we noticed that there are several things that countries could make, like AET, traceability, preventing measures, or the level they reach for high technologies, and this could be put also through funding incentives or policy tools that can help, and how we can share them. The implementation of policies seems to be a key, and the governance seems to be also a key point. Last but not least, communication should be taken in addition to these policies to explain to people how policies have been driven, what are the tools that can be applied, and which solution we can find. We notice also the emphasis on consumer wishes, which is both on the behavior of the consumer, but also on trade. And we notice that there is a need to develop scientific-based standards to fulfill consumers' wishes. We had also stressed our focus on one point. It is that Africa will be the next focal point. This was a key point coming up in the discussions. Because there's a need of opening regional markets. There's also an increase of the level of infrastructure. There's a need to fight against poverty, investment on poultry, and so on. But we notice also that it is linked with the biosecurity risk, which is increasing accordingly to this increasing fact. We have also noticed that there are rapid evolving sectors, and which needs policy-making adjustments on sustainability. And also we have focused our point on several examples, like Vietnam or Tanzania, where we have, in those countries there's some learnings from other geographies and challenges, and they try to see how these involving sectors can also be in line with policy-making adjustment and sustainability as a whole. Last, there was also a discussion on the balance to find between farmers' incomes and also consumers' prices, because it's also a key point in the future discussions. And the last point was how do future on agri-food systems looks like. So how would you say, the slogan we had is livestock must be nature and community smart and be seen in a wider food system, and this food system should also be integrated in a circular bioeconomy. And given to that, we have noticed that there has been support efforts on long term, but we have noticed also that 3 solutions popped up during these days, but they need to be continued. It's a closed efficiency gap, the efficiency of resources, and restoring grassland value. We noticed also that we need to put some efforts on the quantity and quality of data or measurements or tools we need to acquire to solve problems. And especially we wanted that there will be more communication about the results from action networks. LEAP guidelines should also be used broadly, and we can also notice that there are some results thanks to the GLEAM project. So all these projects or measures or data could involve the quality and quantity of data we discussed. We had also the feeling we wanted to have also a question put in the middle of our discussion. It was, what does livestock bring to community? And we were the opinion that we need to produce key messages to answer to that question. And we have also noticed that there were still some initiatives like why livestock matters, and we wanted to, we were the opinion that GASL should take part and play a more important role in those initiatives. Last, it was also that there should be also other thema that needs to be taken into account, or much more taken into account. It's GHG emissions and positive impacts on services from livestock, including economic aspects. So we were the opinion that there's a need to develop a vision based on SDGs also, that is to say, no conversion, gender balance, GHG decrease, low carbon emissions, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Now the representative of the private sector cluster. Thank you very much.
Good morning, my name is Jean Loney, and I represent 1,700 farmers and agriculturalists around the world who are part of the Nuffield International Farming Scholars Program. We'd like to extend a thank you to the host and organizing committees, and I want to say thank you to the private sector for the chance to be part of that group. There's a little bit of a misconception, I think, sometimes about who the private sector is and who's in the room. And we had a wonderfully diverse group of farmers, global organizations, producer groups, nonprofits, and academics that represent a wide range of economic and business interests in agriculture. And I think that's just a wonderful cross-section and microcosm of the sector around the world. Looking at our takeaways from day one, we really love the fact that this is a forum where we can in the future showcase science and practice examples and studies that would help bring the learnings to life. There's a lot of great information, so how do we ensure that's connected back to the farmer and the producer and carries that forward in the future? The carbon sequestration session's definitely something that we talked about a bit in our group, and an area where we'd love to see more depth. So really getting into that a little bit more. We do think there's a little bit of a risk that we're caught in a narrow focus on climate and resource use. So how do we make sure that that's a little bit more holistic in the future? Some opportunity for rebuttal and discussion is something that we think would be really valuable, again, in this forum and in this setting. And how do we work together to identify the true costs, particularly regarding diets and deliberative nutrition? There was a great point made in our session that a low GHG diet or a low water diet is not necessarily a sustainable diet. So how do we bring that full picture to life? And then balance and rigor in what's shared to ensure that they're comprehensive reports and new knowledge is highlighted. We don't just stay in that bubble of talking to each other about what we know, but we're really bringing to life new knowledge. And our group also recognized the disconnect between the needs and realities of the field and markets and the science and innovation offered. And I think in our group, one of the things that I want to again point out, and I think you'll hear a few times, was we had the wonderful opportunity in our conversations to be check-stepped a bit by the farmers and ranchers and producers that were there. For day two, looking at policy, what were our takeaways as a private sector? The trade conversation was valuable. We really want to talk about how to speed innovation passage and adoption. That's pretty critical. When these innovations come to life, it's great to champion them, but how do we make them practical and applicable in the field? How can government be more innovation friendly? How do we increase the adoption and promotion of those innovations? So what do we do once they're created? We also talked about the opportunity to include communications and consumer engagement in the conversation and action plan, and you heard that in the public sector as well. How do we keep telling that message? How do we engage, not just with each other? We're great about being really vocal and passionate with each other. How do we take it outside that bubble and really get it out beyond just us and engage the consumer and make sure that that's valid and really embedded in the action plan? And how do we identify and set action items and next steps in the conversation, again, regarding policy and innovation? What does the future of sustainable livestock look like from a private sector lens to ensure a thriving, innovative, and sustainable future where we fulfill national security, animal care, environmental resource management, and socioeconomic, including farmer benefits we envision, an engaged, robust private sector helping bring farmer, rancher, producer voices to the forefront in communications and research. Enhanced multi-stakeholder projects where we work together with farmers and ranchers at the heart to align policies with science and innovation needs to attract public and private investments, including infrastructure, livestock production, and livestock processing. and a world where all stakeholders champion and contributing to investments in science and infrastructure around the world to ensure and enable sustainable livestock production to meet growing demands. One of the things that I'm excited about is we also took an action pledge, and I'm going to leave that to the next session, and Carolyn will be able to share that with you. But I think it sums up really that this group is diverse, it's engaged, we want farmers at the heart of what we do, and we really want to be able to take action on it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Saldo.
Thanks very much. The representative of academia and research, Naturam Sarkar from Bangladesh. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. In this group, in our group, we have a lot of conceptual people from Bangladesh to and different part of the country. On behalf of this group, I am going to present what you learn from the Science Day, Policy Day, and what we're looking for the livestock in the future. On behalf of our team, it is my opportunity to share our group sharing and knowledge to you. We a lot of discussion with our group regarding what we learned from the Science Day regarding the innovation of sustainable livestock in the first day. We divided our thinking in the three different ways. One is innovation, and there is research, and there is extension. We found that the innovation is not a single way, it is a holistic approach. So we should work in a holistic manner so that all the innovations regarding the livestock development should be considered. Innovation goes in different speed in terms of consumer and often being ahead of the producer. So we have to linking the consumer and so the producers. So innovation should be linked with the consumer and producers also. How to foster the innovation rather than control it? Innovation is a continuous process. It is not static. So in that way, innovation should be thinking like that. It is a continuous, it is how the end user use this innovation. It is very important. We consider that. And how to achieve the scalability, but the innovation needs more dissemination among the users so that it needs a scalability in terms of the more dissemination. Few innovation is livestock system. We discussed in our team that there are few livestock innovation is available, but we need a wider scale innovation so that the farmers, consumers, and producers, and even they can use those innovations for the sustainable development of the sustainable livestock. Innovation is going from farmer to and farmers network. We discussed in our team that the innovation should farmers to farmers goes, and from one farmer to another farmer, they can learn to innovation how they can survive, how can they increase their production in the livestock system. In terms of research, we found that the missing from the conversation how to design research and capture the social dimension. Regarding the when you design the research project, we should consider the dimension of the social perspective of the research. It is very important. And traditional knowledge needs to be captured. If there are some community and all over the countries, there is a special knowledge from the farmers' knowledge of point of view. We should, as a researcher or academia, we should consider the farmer's perspective and farmer knowledge also. This should be considered in terms of innovation, to disseminate the innovations. And management regarding the measurement of efficiency, we also talk, the innovation should have, the research should have the efficiency. The efficiency is in terms of the use of the innovation among the researchers and among the farmers also. In terms of extension, we discussed that how communicate research to the media. Media play a very important role. If some innovation is developed by the researcher or academia, it should be goes to the media. Through media, it should be disseminated to the farmers. These sort of things it should be considered for greater dissemination of the innovation. Increasing the need to educate the consumers and also the livestock and the agriculture. So consumers also learn about the livestock and also the agriculture production system. This is very important in terms of the extension of the innovations. Where the farmers and producers, we think that the GASL should consider the farmers and the consumers also. In the morning, we also consider that in our group, in the cluster group, there is no consumer group. We suggested it should be a consumer group in future. This is the first our observation. Regarding the policy issues, what we learned from the policy day regarding the sustainable livestock, we found that in the policy issues, compliance issues, we found that the norms, values vary according to the culture and background. If we considered the country to country, there is a norms and variation, and farmers' perspective also differentiate. We found that we also considered in the policy issues, we also, in the preparation of the policy issues, we have to consider these sort of differences. Huge variety of policies driven by the politics. Sometimes the politicians don't understand the researchers' views. So this sort of communication between the research and academia, the politicians, we should convince the politician for the development of livestock. So there is a closer communication to the researcher, academia, and the politicians also. So, translate the research and the science into a policy issue so that policy makers can understand the tangible issues of the outcome of the researcher and academia, so that the policy makers and the politicians can use this in their policy level, so that the sustainability of the policies for the livestock development should increase. And another thing, we found that how to bring the message to the media. We found that for this, there is a gap between the media and the researchers. So this should be considered in future for the policy issues, so that media can highlight the policies for the development of livestock. And last not least, there is how we look as an academician researcher, how we look livestock in future. We have discussed a lot of things, but few things we have to understand here, and we mentioned the variety of system will remain according to the community and aspect. So everything in the different places, the climate, soil, environment is related to the in the livestock development. So we have to consider these sort of issues in the policy level, and we look for the development of livestock system in the future. Question of efficiency will be crucial. Balance, because the consumer not necessarily push the efficient system. We understand that, and we discuss that these sort of issues should be considered in future to sustain the livestock system globally. And efficiency will be the key issues. Not only that, the efficiency of the livestock production system is very important. If the innovation or the policies, if the livestock is efficient, then this efficiency will go further for the livestock development. This is as the academician researcher, I thank my group and select me to present this our idea to you, and thank you very much. Goodbye.
Many thanks. Now we are going to listen to the NGO and social movements reporter. If anyone in the cluster will have additional comments, then you have later on the chance to express them. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. So we had some interesting discussion. Our group merged together the NGO cluster and the social movement cluster, but actually we found that we are used to work together, and we shared many common views. So about the first question, what did we learn on the Science Day? We saw actually that many things were missing, but we hope to transform this kind of criticism as a suggestion how to improve the next meeting and discussion within GASL. So of course we saw that there are the multiple contributions of livestock system to the 4 sustainability domains, but we actually didn't find many new evidence, many new debates. So it's always rehashing the issues, and we have to move forward on that aspect. We found also a bit of too much defensive discourse, defending livestock as a whole, without a very genuine self-analysis, reflection, and debate on this. We missed the diversity of the livestock systems, especially also linked to which solutions are appropriate to each of these different systems. And of course, we regretted that the smallholder livestock systems, including pastoralism, didn't get so much visibility. So, to visibility to the systems and also to the innovations that are adapted to these systems. Compared to other MSP meetings, we found little mention of the SDGs, but we all know that it is very urgent. There is an agenda with clear deadlines, so we need to bring back these topics. We found that there was missing examples of innovation led by farmers, in our case by smallholders pastoralism, but we think that we can learn a lot from their adaptation and innovation capacity. And finally, another point that came over in other presentation, so include into the definition of innovation, like technology, solution, ICT, and so on, but also all the social dimension, innovative setup, structure, governance systems, and so on. About the second day, so the Policy Forum on Innovations and Trade. Regarding innovation, we found that it was missing the analysis of how innovations can be adopted, because once they are developed, their adoption is not for granted. So maybe need more emphasis on these aspects, including participatory approaches, including all the stakeholders, and first of all, farmers themselves, and speak about how to adapt this innovation to the local context, so not just replicate some fixed innovatory package to the different places. In the trade panel, we found that there was very clear gender bias, but more in general, in the discussion about policies, about innovation, trade, we found a lack of gender aspects in all the debates. Specifically on trade, of course, we recognize that trade is part of the solution, but more debate is needed on how to make it sustainable for all the different livestock systems. There was also very little, but almost no mention of local trade and local markets that were not discussed enough, while they are so important for the livelihood of millions livestock keepers in the world. Also stress a bit more, we stress about the inequalities between countries in accessing international trade in terms of diseases and standards to comply. And in general, when we reflected about the policy forums and so on, we always think that it's time to set clear goals and start to be accountable. So clear agreements on policy recommendation and then commit to action and to move forward. Finally, for the future of livestock, but of course we see a big diversity in the world and in the different livestock systems. Change will be context specific, of course. We saw that the traditional breeds will be part of the solution because of their resistance traits, especially facing climate change and so on. And to reinforce and to strengthen the participation of women and youth in building the future livestock systems. The diversity of the livestock systems, so means that no livestock systems are left behind, so that smallholders, pastoralists are given opportunity to improve their sustainability and their to continue to sustain the livelihood of people. But this will be possible only if there will be science support, policy support, adequate policy support, adequate access to information, a correct implementation and development of innovations. Then we saw that probably one of the big challenge, besides climate change, will be an increasing competition for land and for natural resources. And of course, we mentioned also veganism and plant-based protein and food innovation as future trends that will be that we will need to deal with to include in our reflection. Thanks a lot.
Many thanks, Margarita. And finally, the Multilateral and Intergovernmental Organizations Cluster Report. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Karen Marshall from the International Livestock Research Institute based in Nairobi and Kenya and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Okay, so we were a small group, but we had a really rich discussion, so just some highlights. So first of all, we discussed that any innovation should meet multiple sustainable development goals, and in fact, when you do map livestock to the SDGs, it does contribute to many SDGs, and that's a message we should keep promoting. And also we discussed the need for integrated solutions that are context-specific. So there is this huge diversity in livestock systems, ranging from the intensive systems that we see in this country to the smallhold pastoral systems where ILRI and partners focus on. So the solutions really do need to be contextualized, and in many cases it can be packages of solutions. So a few of the more promising innovations we felt that came out of the Science Day. First of all, the sexing of juvenile chickens. We really felt this could be transformative to the chicken sector. Also, the notion of African swine fever resistant pigs. I mean, ASF is really spreading rapidly, and we need these resistant pigs, which could come from genomic approaches, precision breeding, or the vaccine approaches. And there are groups around the world working on this now. We also felt there would be a lot of innovation there is a lot of innovation in real-time data capture and the feedback to farmers and other value chain actors for decision making. And particularly, this is going on in developed countries to some extent, but in the developing countries it's available but not always accessible because of the cost of data access. We'd also like to see a higher focus on nutrition-sensitive agriculture, so more of a balance onto the nutritional value of food, not just productivity. And particularly we heard the messaging that children in their first 1,000 days of life, so conception to 2 years of age, having some ASF in addition to breast milk is absolutely essential for positive lifetime outcomes. And finally, we talked about having more emphasis around globally coordinated livestock conservation efforts. So there are some conservation efforts going on, but not enough. Livestock biodiversity is currently decreasing rapidly, particularly in developing countries. Okay, so I'll go on now to what we feedback from the policy day. So first of all, we discussed that the challenge of future food security is just so big and diverse that we really need to consider all possible solutions. So not discarding anything, but we need to choose our solutions smartly. And that there needs to be increased multi-stakeholder collaboration, and that solutions need to be co-created, and GASL is a great example of that. That increased dialogue on livestock is required, particularly given the public opinion against livestock and animal source foods in some sectors. We had a lot of discussion. We were very excited about this idea that consumers are the ones that drive production and thus need to be correctly informed about their choices so they can make informed decisions. And there's a role of governments here and also of many other stakeholders. And finally, we like the concept of a circular economy driven by incentives and also appropriate regional planning. We also discussed that any innovation, whether it's science or policy or whatever, will have varied impacts, and that we need to look at those impacts across all the different domains of sustainability, which I've lifted down the right-hand side. So that's really important to make sort of an informed, evidence-based choice across all of these different domains, so not just looking at a single one. Okay, finally, on the future of livestock, we thought this would be positive, with that it would also be increasingly driven by more informed policies, also increasingly driven by more informed consumers, and increasingly transparent. We also felt that it would be very strongly influenced by the climate change arena, so the messages given out by the climate change arena, the policies made around that, and that could be transformative, and it could force a shift from, say, beef to chicken. We felt that there would be less footprint per unit of product, driven by these more informed consumers and also supportive policies. And finally, we felt that there, in the long term, would be convergence on a healthy diet, equalizing or at least closing the gap in animal source food consumption, where today we have this great polarization with overconsumption in some sectors and underconsumption in the developing countries. So in all, a positive future for livestock, but perhaps with some changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all the cluster representatives. We really are getting lots of important remarks, suggestions, and assessments, and we will certainly take them into account. Thank you very much to all of you for your work. Now over to Susan for the next session.
Thank you, Eduardo, and thank you to our rapporteurs. Next, we have the opportunity to hear from our K-State Research and Extension Communications team who attended each of the 4 tours yesterday, and they're going to give you a photo essay. So each of you only had the opportunity to attend 1 tour, so this is a chance for you to see a little bit of a snapshot of what everybody else experienced and learn about some key takeaways from those tours. And as they're coming out and providing this presentation, I would just like to express my personal appreciation for the intense amount of time that our communication team has dedicated not only to the tours, but they've been here for each and every session this week. And as each session concludes, they've been writing really nice, quick press releases, which has drawn a lot of attention externally to this event. So I greatly appreciate their time and effort, and I think you're going to appreciate their presentation. So I think we start with who?
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Hackett. I'm the director of the News Media Services team, and we have had the pleasure of covering this conference for the last several days and documenting all of the wonderful discussions and dialogues and sharing of information that has been going on. I'm quickly going to introduce our team here. We've got Taylor Kennedy, who some of you have been interviewed on video by Taylor. Pat Melgaris. Dan Donnert has been shooting pictures throughout the entire time. Mary Lou Peter and Randall Kowalik are up at the back taking notes and continuing to serve. So thank you to this entire team. They've put in a lot of work. And again, though, it has been our pleasure to help out with this. So we're going to fly through a lot of photos because we tried to do our best to document what happened yesterday on the 4 field tours that took place, and now is our chance to share with each of you the other 3 tours that you did not get to attend. So I'll turn it over first to Pat Melgaris.
Okay, well, thank you. Excuse me. Clear my throat here. I was on the Livestock and Environment Tour, and I had the opportunity to ride the bus with a lot of happy people because there were some really neat things to do. So what I'm going to kind of blow through is a lot of pictures and a few comments from some of the people I was able to talk to along the way. So again, we were at on the Livestock and Environment Tour, and one of our stops was at the Ashland Bottoms Research Farm. It's about 10 miles south of Manhattan. And as you see, we had an opportunity to walk through some fields. These are soybean fields, obviously. And we saw some very happy faces, as I mentioned. Wanted to share one comment, and this kind of summarized a little bit of what I think some impressions were. And this was an anonymous comment, said, "I think we are looking at some really interesting agroecological models here, things we can adapt and apply directly to my work in sub-Saharan Africa. It's aspirational in some ways, but we see what is possible." And I think that's a lot of what's happening out at Ashland Bottoms Research Farm, where the cropping systems, there's lots of research going on out there by Kansas State University. And as you see, there was an opportunity for some discussion with some K-State agronomists. One of those was Dustin Riddle. And he gave a short overview of all the research that's going on at at Ashland Bottoms. Let's see, I thought we had, okay, we'll get back to that. The other one was Craig Rosenbaum. And just a second, let me get on task here. Lost my spot here. Okay, so Craig is one of those researchers that's working with various cropping systems. They're studying soybeans out there, corn, wheat, sorghum. They're working with nutrient management, lots of things that are going on out there. Rogelio, who is from Brazil, is another one who I was able to talk to, and he had a very interesting comment that I'll share with you. He says, the best thing is to be in contact with people, to see what they're doing, and to realize that climate change is affecting everyone in the world. People here are thinking how they're going to play with that. So it's a big thing that's going on at Ashland Bottoms. People here are thinking how they're going to play along with the issues that are being faced around the world. As he mentioned, sorghum is one of the crops that's being grown and studied out there. You get an idea also for the vastness of this research farm as we sort through some of these pictures. And of course, this is the very lovely bronze color that's very common with mature sorghum. And got a close-up of some of the soybeans that are coming out now. And again, the vastness of Ashland Bottoms Research Farm, kind of just get an idea. It's basically up through those hills that you see in the background. That's all research land out there. Okay. So then another one of our stops is actually the place where we were able to eat lunch was at the Kanza Prairie, and this is a location that's just about 5 miles south of Manhattan. It was actually our second stop during the day, and the Kanza Prairie Biological Station is a native tallgrass prairie, and again, it's just a few miles south of here. It's kind of interesting because we seemed very isolated out there, and I heard several of the participants ask, well, where is Manhattan from here? And the response was, well, it's just a few miles up the road here, and it was really surprising to some people that we were really pretty close to Manhattan. So a few quick pictures after lunch. Several people were getting a little bit of exercise, walking up and down the trails. It was pretty hot out there, and people didn't seem to mind. It was a good conversation, a lot of group interaction. One of my favorite pictures coming up here, but as I mentioned, well, first to talk about this one, the Kanza Prairie is owned by the Nature Conservancy and Kansas State University. It operates as a field research station by the university's Division of Biology. So our talk later on was by a member of our faculty in biology. And this was one of my favorite pictures. I thought this was pretty cool. This is Alves, right, from Brazil. It's very beautiful out there. Lots of things to look at. Lots of flowers. Lots of insects. Lots of things to look at. So leading the group was K-State biology professor Jesse Nippert. He led a short walking tour of one section. We only had about 30 minutes by the time we ate lunch and gathered back up again, but it was a really nice tour. And many of the participants were commenting about Jesse's really deep knowledge about the Kanza ecosystem. There's so much, and he knew so much about so many aspects of that ecosystem. It was just remarkable. There were plant species, water sources, animals, insects, lots of things that he was able to talk about. Nippert was telling us, too, that the Kanza Prairie was once part of a much more vast native tallgrass prairie stretched several states, and only about what exists out there right now is only about 2% of the natural prairie that once existed. The other 98% of the prairie was converted to row crop agriculture over time. So as big as that area was, that was only 2% of the entire native prairie at one time. And again, it's a popular hiking and running area. In fact, here locally, there's a 13-mile running race that's held out at the Kanza Prairie each year. And so all of us were able to get to be part of that. And again, as in one of the teaching moments, you can kind of see the vastness of this prairie, again, stretching out quite a distance. At this point in the tour, we were hoping to get a good look at the bison herd out there. There's a bison herd of about 400 bison right now. Normally it's about 300, and then those bison give birth to about 100 additional, and then they cull back to 300. But at the current time, there was supposedly a herd of 400, but it's amazing how these large animals were able to hide from us within this vast prairie. We weren't able to see the bison yesterday. This is Tobias from Germany, and he works with one of Germany's largest development agencies. He was especially interested in seeing the natural habitat as it existed long ago. He said, "I look at plants, I look at insects, all of this biodiversity interests me. I'm always looking at the cows, but also everything that goes around them." Thought that was pretty cool. Dwayne Roth has taken a picture of the team here. Dwayne was one of the volunteer leaders. He's a farmer out in Holcomb, Kansas, which is about 5 or so hours from here. And he was a really excellent resource for a lot of folks too. He runs in Kansas what is one of our water technology farms, and so he's big into those kinds of issues. Many plant species out on the Kanza, and of course, again, we were able to see a lot of those as we were just walking along one path. Jesse Nippert was saying that the Kanza Prairie Biological Station is a major research destination for people from around the world. Livestock studies include the large bison herd and also grazing studies with cow-calf pairs. Okay. Give me a second here. A couple other quick comments regarding the Kanza Prairie. I believe it was Linda from Australia. Says, very interesting to learn a lot about the grasslands and how the cycle of grassland is and how it used to be. People that lived there already knew that there was something they had to take care of. They were burning the grass in 2 or 3 year cycles so that the biodiversity could be sustained. There was no woody lands. It's important that this research center exists, and they're trying to get this knowledge back. Walter told me it's unique because it's a large area. There are different experiments considering different variables. It's important to understand how this ecosystem works and what are the drivers for positive and negative changes. What is the role of burning? What is the role of woody vegetation? If you want to manage an ecosystem well, you have to understand its structure and functions. Okay, so that brings us to the third part of our tour, and this is Sean Tiffany. We were greeted at Tiffany Cattle Company by Sean, and he's a co-owner of the business with his brother Shane. Sean provided a guided tour first on bus. We rode the bus around the feedlot, and he talked about portions of the feedlot as we went around. And there were a lot of photo opportunities for those of us on the bus, even through the windows. It's pretty cool. The feedlot can hold up to 32,000 animals, although typically their max is going to be about 29,000 animals. And of course, these are some of the cattle in the feedlot. Notice the cornfield in the background. Sean was saying that the crop should have been harvested 3 weeks ago, but because of our wet weather in Kansas, we're a little bit behind, and they're just getting it out of the field now. Again, numerous photo opportunities were available. Interestingly, the concrete slabs that were at this feedlot, they were part of an army base in that area in World War II. The cool thing for the feedlot is that because they have these large areas of concrete is that it improves the mobility and the footing for cattle on the feedlot, so that's a good thing. Sean was also a popular subject for photos. This was while we were on the bus. He was a very dynamic speaker and in fact was flying to Nebraska in the afternoon to talk to another group. One of the things I thought was really cool, Sean said, unless you regularly hang out with Olympic athletes or with professional football players, you'd have a hard time finding a being on this earth that gets better nutrition than our cows. I thought that was so cool. So they feed them well and they care about their animals. He told us on this day that when he interviews potential employees, he asks them, when you have to make an important decision, what do you base it on? He says what he wants his employees to say is, I make the decision based on what's best for the animal. So we were able to see a processing facility. It's state-of-the-art, brand new. It's not even up to full operation yet. And so these are some of those participants. We're about to enter the processing facility. And of course, Sean was telling us what they're doing here. There's a lot of interest on this part of the tour. Rogelio, I think you were a popular subject for me yesterday. I don't know. Truly, though, he was asking questions, lots of questions, so he really caught my attention. And Sean is explaining his operations processes for moving cattle in and out of the processing facility. The facility was so new, so clean. Again, very state-of-the-art. Caught him with his eyes closed. And the dialogue was excellent. Again, there you are again. I didn't even realize that. In addition to questions about how animals are moved in and out of the facility, there was questions asked about animal identification, the use of growth promotants, and several other topics. And I was just playing with the camera, trying to get different angles, see what we had there. Having some fun. Here's a good look at the facility. Tried to get an overview of that. This is Emmanuel Costa, I think, or Coste. Yep. Now, during one part of the tour, Sean wanted us to focus on the cornfield behind the feedlot pens. He said the feedlot puts up 1 million bushels of high moisture corn per year, and his business grows about 20% of that corn. Before we loaded the buses to leave, we had about a 10-minute break, and we saw about a half dozen of these trucks move on and off the company's scales. It's a very busy, bustling operation. They were moving trucks in and out quite quickly. And a lot of good opportunities for pictures during that time. And these next two I really like. I thought it was really impressive that Sean was so giving of his time. He's a very busy business owner. In fact, like I say, he had another speaking engagement that afternoon. But he was genuinely interested in talking with everybody who wanted to ask about his operation, and did not seem impatient at all, just seemed very giving and happy that people were interested in what he was doing. Something that he said that I thought summarized his company's philosophy: if you focus on quality, your product will be a result of that. And I believe that to be true whether you're selling cars or marketing cattle. I have just one or two other comments I'd like to share with you, I think. Yep, Garcia from Brazil. I'm impressed with how big it is and the number of cattle they work with, the machines they use, and their strategies for feeding cattle. I'll take this back. I like this very much. Dilip, originally from Nepal, they do things right, specifically in that their attitude is to put yourself in the place of the animal and then make decisions. The way they're trying to integrate manure into their forage farm, everything he explained was unique to me. And then my last one, we'll turn it over to our next presenter, Camilo, said the productivity of this farm is impressive, as is the manager's approach to take sustainability into account. It's good to hear what their values are and how these are translated into the livestock system. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mary Lou and I went on the field tour B to the K-State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab and the Manhattan Commission company, that's the sale barn here, the cattle sale barn, and then the Biosecurity Research Institute on K-State's campus. I'm going to fly through these because we took a lot of photos and I need to get through a lot of them for you. Whoops, I need to do that. No. That's not the wrong button here. So the day started with a presentation at the K-State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. We learned a lot of acronyms there, but we actually had to pause and scale it back and ask for a little bit of help with explaining some of the acronyms. Then we went to the bacteriology lab and we got to meet someone who said it takes a special person to enjoy the smells we have in here. We saw some of the diagnostic tools that they have that have actually sped up a lot of what they do in identifying diseases. We toured several labs in the facility. Here was kind of their receiving, kind of almost their mail room where they get all of the samples in, and there's a whole staff that goes through there the entire day, opening and cataloging and identifying samples that need to be tested and routing them where they need to go. Then we went to the rendering facility. Nothing being rendered there while we were there, but they did say the largest animals that they have ever dealt with there were a couple of rhinoceroses, but mostly cats, dogs, and cattle is what they said. Then we met with Dr. Steve Ensley, a clinical veterinary toxicologist, who one of his PhD students was asked, "What's your favorite toxin?" And he said, "I kind of like blue-green algae." Okay. Next, we went on to the sale barn, the Manhattan Commission company, just on the edge of town here. They have a cafe in there. You walk right past the cafe and then right into their ring where they sell cattle. And we got to experience that. There's John Klein, the co-owner of the facility, and he explained to us how everything works inside that facility and how sales work. And then we weighed a couple of people and went through the auction process. Let's see if I can get that. Are you hearing that? All right, well, we got to enjoy that. A little example of auctioneering. Then we took a tour of the rest of the facility and saw their pens. Not a lot of cattle there that day because the sales are on Friday, but there was some good chance to see the size and scale of the operation. Some of the notices that they have, several folks actually were taking pictures of these signs just as reminders of how things are done here, kind of through the USDA in the US. Then he showed us one of their chutes where they do vaccinations and preg checks. Then we toured a little bit more of the facility. Then we went to the BRI, the Biosecurity Research Institute. We needed to have our photo IDs there to get in, and we really did not get to go very far into the facility because it's a secure lab. So we got to see a presentation about the security and how the lab works. There's current and recent research just in the last couple of years of what they've been working on there. Let's see, the BRI is the only ASFV, the BRI and the ASFV are the first and only non-federal research facility ever to be approved to work on African swine fever virus since 2013. A feather in the cap of K-State. We then had a presentation from Marty Van Veneer, who told us about an exercise that takes place in the state of Kansas where they do a simulation and pull in all aspects of the entire system from producers all the way up through the Kansas Department of Agriculture to practice what would happen if there was a disease outbreak. And it's a very elaborate process over the course of 4 days every year. She explained to us how that works. Then we went to Call Hall here on K-State's campus. There's Dr. Mike Brook talking about our dairy facilities, and they had a trailer with a robotic milker from De La Valle that showed us how their product works for robotic milking. And there's a quick little video of how that works. And then we finished off the day at Call Hall for some ice cream that's made right here on K-State's campus, and everyone enjoyed that. So thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. So my voice is about 80% because we had so much fun yesterday that this is the combination of fun and me talking way too much. So my voice is a little hoarse, I apologize. So yesterday we went to the Kansas State Fair in Hutchinson, Kansas, which is about 2 hours west, kind of southwest of here. I am new to Kansas as well as some of the people that went on the trip. I've only been here about 3 months. I'm originally from Texas, so this was, although it's similar, there were some new things that I learned there as well. So we'll walk you through quickly kind of what we looked at the State Fair. So this is just, checking into the State Fair, and I have an audio quote for you, so if you'll listen in from Elizabeth.
My name is Elizabeth.
Is the audio on?
From
Can we hear it out there? Yeah, it was playing. It was only playing on the computer, though.
My name is Elizabeth Katushabe. I come from Uganda. Today, the best part of...
No. Okay, so Elizabeth had a quote, and she said, she's from Uganda, and she was amazed at how big the cattle were here. She has, Angoli something longhorns? I can't remember the exact name, but they are a lot different than like Texas longhorns that are really big and wide and a lot different. So this is just, again, checking in, looking at the map of the State Fair. And if you're not familiar with what the State Fair is, you have youth exhibits there. There was a band competition going on that day with high school and middle school students, so ages from like 13 to 18, showcasing what they do in music. This is the infamous butter sculpture. This is made out of pure butter, and it's themed after the Wizard of Oz. So as you can imagine, they have to keep that in a very cool room, otherwise it would just melt and be a terrible mess. So this is just looking at the sculpture, and then if you look in the background here, there's a giant pumpkin. This is a good-sized pumpkin. Just wanted to include that in there with that lovely scarecrow. We are in Kansas after all. And again, this is just exhibiting some of the Grand Champion and the Blue Ribbon, which is the best of the best vegetables, large vegetables, and looks like watermelons and squash and some other things there at the State Fair.
Hello, I'm Gareth Salmon.
Gareth has a quote here too.
For SEBI, which is based at the University of Edinburgh.
Can't hear it, so we're just going to go ahead and move on. We had some llamas at the State Fair, which is considered a specialty livestock for us here in Kansas. I have a picture of a lovely one here just so you can look at its lovely face. This is a student who is exhibiting at the State Fair. She has llamas. This is her project, so she's going to, I might be wrong, but she's probably going to show these llamas. So she's cared for them. Anyone who stops by like we did, she explains, what she does to take care of her animals, because it's very important to her that they have a great life, and she answered any questions that we had. This is just everyone looking at what is called a show ring. So I have pictures of that as we go on of actually sheep being shown. So students or sometimes even older, they'll take their best of their breed and show them around in a show as far as like structural stance, breed genetics. They're trying to show win a prize for the best animal there. Competition is always good. This is just looking at two different types of cattle we have here in Kansas. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone that's out there, but I believe this is a Charolais and a Black Angus, which are very large, and these are not full grown. This is what's called fitting. There they are, they're trimming hair, blow drying it, fluffing its hair out so that it looks the best possible to go into the show ring. So you can see there, if you really look how fluffy it is, it's because they have taken a lot of time to make that cow look, or that heifer look beautiful. Red Angus, very large. And I had a quote here. We had what Catherine said is that she really enjoyed the 4-H exhibits, and 4-H is a youth organization that we have here that they can do anything from showing livestock, raising livestock, to making quilts, making jams, jellies, cakes, taking photos, which we'll look at that. But she really enjoyed the quilt project because of how much you can see that people work with their hands, and those are on exhibit there at the State Fair. This is just an example of, if you look towards the back there, you can see all the different little show pens where students will bring their projects and take care of them while they're at the fair. They are on a bed of shavings, so they're very comfortable. This is a picture, a kind of blurry picture of a gestation crate. This hog had just had her babies, I believe, the day before, her piglets the day before, and there were 15 piglets. So it's, if you're not familiar with this type of gestational crate, it's just safety so that they're up off the ground and no one gets smashed, and they can, the piglets can get milk from the mother and be very healthy. And then this area of the state fair is a birthing area. So these are all, there are, I believe, 4 or 5 expecting mothers of different breeds. This is, obviously this is a Jersey cattle down on the bottom right. She was actually probably going to give birth last night or today sometime, they said. So that was exciting to see. Just again, another picture of that gestational crate. This is what a show might look like. They're looking at uniformity. So it comes down and you see like that smooth line at the top. They're wanting to show that sturdiness, hardiness, and then they'll walk them around the ring a little bit. And this is an example of like another stance that they might do to try to show their sheep. Just petting a sheep there. This is some of our group. They were very excited. This is if a winner were to win with their show animal, their family or the owner of the animal would get back there and they'd all take a picture together. This is just some wool in a bag that is going to be judged. It looks like one of them has a 3rd or 4th place ribbon there. This is the rabbit facility there where they keep the show rabbit animals. Have a picture of them just so you can see the different variety of rabbits that are shown at the Kansas State Fair. There were several others, but I didn't want to clog your view with so many different rabbits. And then these are chickens. There's a poultry barn at the State Fair. There's multiple different kinds of chickens. This is just one photo, but I wanted to show you the food at the State Fair. So we had the opportunity to have money and pay for a variety of food. There's fried Oreos that are cookies or biscuits, fried Twinkies, fried anything you can imagine that's terrible food for you. We experienced it at the Kansas State Fair. So this is, you know, and this is a picture of, you can get turkey legs, ice cream, fried Snickers, deep fried pickles. There you go. Glimpse of what we got to eat there. And there's the Snickers bar that's deep fried. This is just a picture, just so you could see kind of the United States. This is the butterflies migration. Those arrows are monarch butterflies migrate where those arrows are, so they come right through Manhattan. I don't remember what time of year, but they do come through here. This is the FFA barn, which is, we had talked about earlier in the week. It used to be known as Future Farmers of America. It is no longer that name, but these students are here telling people about different uses for byproducts of goats, pigs, sheep, and cows. So you can see there we have gloves, tennis balls, shoes. You can just see they're there to educate, to say that we don't just eat them for meat. They're used for all kinds of things. This is a bug exhibit in the 4-H building. There was lots and lots of bugs, so that you could see what's out there. This is an example of like having baked goods. There at the show, and these are projects as well. These are all student projects. I'll go through these rather quickly. These are just example of different types of vegetable and watermelons. This is jarring, pies, quilts. These are the quilt projects. There were a lot more at the State Fair and other buildings. Photos, there's photo exhibits. 4-H students compete to see who has the best photos. Woodworking, drawing, art. Again, with the drawing and art. There's leatherworking as a category that they can compete in there. And of course, baking. It was very hard to walk past these and definitely not want a piece of cake, that's for sure. This is just to show you the scale. There was lots of equipment, farm equipment there, and we had a little bit of fun climbing up on the different implements and equipment there. This one was very large. Our whole group got on there. That's the size of the tractor tire.
Hello there.
And again, for scale. And these gentlemen here who are in charge of like explaining what the equipment are, in the black shirt, he was letting us know, how much each of them cost. And he said one of them sale value is around $500,000 US. So it's very expensive. So that was the state fair.
All right, good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to thank you all for letting me become a part of your little small life here of letting you photograph you guys. I think I've probably photographed almost everybody that's been here through your breakout sessions, and my Argentinian friends over here. But I like to thank everybody. It's been a great opportunity. I learned a lot when I first heard about GASL. I said, what? So I have learned. It's a great organization and extremely important. So welcome to K-State and to our little town of Manhattan too. We did agribusiness, agritourism. I think they call it agri-food systems, farm to fork. I like to call it agritourism. It has become extremely important, not only for a lot of small towns in Kansas, but around the United States. I'm not sure how much of this is going on across the world, but it has given farmers, producers, a chance to find a niche market, a chance to bring those who haven't had a chance to be on a farm, to see what goes on, and so they're opening up their farms to tours. And some of them, I don't know if the Peterson brothers, been very famous throughout the world. They do a lot of events all over the world. And anyway, they opened up recently their farm, and they have cornfields. It's out there, so they turn it into a corn maze. People come in and they get a chance for a certain amount of dollars to come in and go through the maze, and then they talk to them about their farm. So they get a chance to learn. So this has been extremely important for them. I think this year they did sunflowers. Of course, if some of you had a chance to see the sunflowers as you're driving through, a lot of people want to get their photos taken with sunflowers. So that is what the Peterson brothers have done. They have videos online too. They've done a lot of parodies on songs, and some of you may have known that. But we went through 3 of them here that were close by, and let me see, make sure I get, oh, and by the way, we got what we all call the cool bus. This is Kansas State's, one of the athletic buses, and it says, obviously you can see Kansas State on there, and we were all excited just to be, a chance to be on that bus, but we did have the cool bus. This is the Hildebrand Dairy Farm, and they do produce all their milk on their farm. And you'll see here, this is one of their trucks that they travel around. I'm not sure exactly how far they actually go. This is out by, 40 miles maybe from Manhattan. It's west of, it's Junction City, if you want to look that up. But they, again, produce everything at the farm. They pasteurize, and you'll see their equipment. But this is one of their trucks that they have. This is their store that they have. It's also back in the back there. You'll see is where they bottle their milk too. So you can see that little sign, "Drink Milk." This is part of their facility that they have here. It's not very big, but it works well for them. This is part of their calf barn, and you'll see here where their calves, they keep them there separate. They don't like people to go in too because they're worried about any diseases or anything else. So because they do have tours through, they keep this separate. But this is where they keep their calves. This is their cow barn, and again they have 120 cows that they milk twice a day, and nice. They're also cute, aren't they? And they do get to know, because they only have 120, so they get to know their cows very well. This is part of their facility here that, again, they pasteurize, which I understood is kind of unusual to do that at the farm. They do it because they can control their quality better. They can do everything right there. And as a agritourism business, they also use bottles. They like to, and I got some pictures of that. This was some ice cream we got a chance to share when we were there, so that was nice too. But here are some of the bottles that they have, and they do distribute it. You can get them in Manhattan here. You can get them just about any town, fairly close. But they use glass bottles. They wanted to find a niche market, and this is what they did. They used glass bottles. They said their quality is better when it's in a glass bottle, so it brings back people back my age and older that when we used to have glass bottles all the time, and that's what they do. So they have a lot of their produce. They produce chocolate milk, and let me tell you, their chocolate milk is excellent. And here we go here, and again, it's all about finding that niche market, and that's what they use. Here is Alma Cheese we went to, which is back down the road the opposite direction, east of Manhattan, and they produce, obviously, cheese. This is a small facility. They've been doing this since 46, I believe it is. Yeah, been open since 1946. And the problem is we weren't able to get to the very back area where they actually are making the cheese because they were working at the time and mixing up a batch. So we didn't get a chance to see, but I took a couple pictures sneaking in. But this lady talked about the business, the Alma Cheese business, and they are very popular throughout the area and sell their cheese. And again, a lot of people from this area know Alma Cheese. They do a lot of packaging where they sell to schools for projects, and so Christmas time they package a lot of cheese boxes, and that's what they sell. And it's been a nice market for them. Again, this is kind of shot through the window, but I think they were working on curds. Here is a photo, and that was just a photo of another photo, so I did the best I could. They're making batches, and they produce 5,600 pounds of cheese at a time in one day. So from early morning till sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night, the lady said, before they finish. So it's, like I said, it's not a big operation, but they make it work very well. They've been around, like I said, since 1946. We got another chance to go out to Plumlee Buffalo Ranch. And those who got a chance to go had a chance to see the buffalo up close, within probably 15 feet. It made the owner, Larry Plumlee, a little nervous, but those who were here that had that chance got a chance to see an American buffalo bison up close in person. But this was, and also got a chance to see the Flint Hills. Beautiful, as you know, as you had a chance to drive around. It's probably, I think, the most beautiful part of Kansas. And so this is the Flint Hills. This is their buffalo herd. They have, let me see, 400 acres and 60 buffalo. So it's not a big ranch, but it works for them. They literally just a mom and pa operation. They said buffalo are great because you don't have to do anything. They, I forgot the papers, but they do not medicate. They have no medication on the buffalo at all. They breed within, and so they have no other buffalo that come in, calves or anything, so they keep everything contained, and it works out well for them. And so they said even during calving season, which is hard to believe, they go to Texas. They leave town. They said buffalo do not want to have humans around, especially during calving, and so they leave. That's unheard of for those who raise cattle. So anyway, this was interesting. Here we got a chance. Here's part of the crew here. And we had just about a full bus going there. It was hot, but here we are getting a little bit closer to the buffalo. And as Larry, the owner, says, you're on buffalo time. You will, if you're getting ready to corral them or everything, you do it when they want you to do it. You just don't, herd buffalo very well. They're on their own time. Here you go, a little closer. And like I said, it's 400 acres. There you go, here at the, I think this is one of my last ones here. And Buffalo could care less about us. These are pretty, I don't want to call them tame, but they enjoy people. They know people go through there with the tourism. But this is Larry Plumley's way of making a living. He is retired from, as a helicopter pilot in the Army, I believe it was. And so this is his way of making a little extra income, and works out well, and they do a lot of tours. So again, this is the address, if you want to write this down, to our website, where we have all the information that we've done. I think the news briefs are on that, correct? You can go on here and find our Flickr site. Those I've photographed. I've got, it'll be at least 3-4 days of photographs. So if you want to look for your photo, go onto that page, and then you'll find the link to the button to the Flickr site. And then you can download. I've had people already find it and told me that they've got them. So again, I want to thank everybody for letting us stay up here and give you kind of a little tour of what we've had a chance to do. And again, welcome.
Thank you to our communications team for sharing that update and overview of the 4 tours that we had yesterday. So next, as we transition into talking about the commitments for the future, I'll invite Eduardo up to the stage, and just want to remind you, you can certainly be taking notes of the websites, but we will follow up with all of the registrants with an email after this event with links to the recordings of the YouTube videos of each of the sessions, the Flickr account so you can find all the photos, so that you just have one resource to be able to refer back to this event. Eduardo.
Okay. And when you're ready for Rogério's video, I'll pull it up too.
Thank you very much, Susan, and thank you all. This is a session that we really cherish because we would like to hear from our action networks and clusters how they think they can connect to the topic of this meeting by expressing actions that they are already doing or will be doing that will enhance the use of innovation to improve sustainable livestock in their activities. So I will invite some of our leaders in the action networks and clusters, and I hope that you will relate to them and pay attention to what they're going to say, because you may be thinking of contributing or collaborating with similar topics, and it'll be nice to generate synergies in these topics. So the private sector cluster. Thank you, Caroline.
I feel like I'm winning something. Good morning. I'm so pleased to accept that award this morning. Actually, no, it's a privilege to be here to talk about our commitment. And as my colleague Jean mentioned this morning, innovation is at the heart of what we do as a private sector, and action too. So we were very eager yesterday to make a commitment as a group that you can see there. But actually, as one of our participants said, we can all be proud of the role that we play to feed the world. So we are all ambassadors of sustainable livestock. And we have shared yesterday example of the power of dialogue and one-to-one conversation, and showing our reality, good practices, the work that we do. So we actually have taken the commitment as a group, but individually as well, to make those actions outside of our bubble. Because in between ourselves, we are convinced of the benefit of livestock for a sustainable diet. We know what we need to do as a sector, but we also have a role to play in telling others. Sharing the science, and I think you can read it there. I'm going to read it because I think it's really well put. The private sector group, individually and collectively, agreed to actively engage in promoting true science and ongoing good practices in the livestock industry. To others, getting our voices outside of the bubble and shining with many lights on the critical role we play in community and with consumers. We also, as part of our discussion, need to take into consideration that we're actually seeing some country, some of our actors of our sector being criticized and attacked, even just for the role they play in feeding the world. So we collectively agreed to be there to support them, not to leave them the only one fighting for the sector, but as a group to collectively play our role in promoting. And obviously, in order to deliver that as a private sector, and I'm actually talking for the private sector, but I've consulted my colleagues before doing that, we are committed as well to be sharing with GASL more concrete example of the work that is done with the private sector around the world in terms of sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, we talk on an holistic approach. Sustainability is about nutritional value. Sustainability is about socioeconomic impact. Sustainability is about all aspects of the environment, not just GHG reduction. It's also about water, soil, biodiversity, bioenergy, the good and the bad, and all the commitment that we've made throughout the world to do better. So that's our commitment, to do more as a private sector, to help GASL deliver its mandate, and to be, all of us, individual ambassadors of the good job we do to nourish the planet. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Now we are going to have a commitment from the Brazilian Center for Sustainable Livestock. Thank you, Rogerio.
Good morning, everybody. Before that, I'd like to clarify that I'm here on behalf of the cluster academic research that we are conducting with Nancy, and I think one of our commitment is to work hard more because we believe in the work that we are doing, and I think that the work will improve the agenda. And second, on behalf of the Action Network too, yesterday I was impressed with the feedback from our model, and I think one of the commitments that we have as a group is to present the final results next year in Switzerland. That's, I think, is two important points. And the third one, because I'm very pleased to be here and to talk with you, because since the meeting in Ethiopia, also in Mongolia, I have a pleasure to bring with me a farmer. And this farmer, now he's here with his son. So the commitment that I will present here is for this generation, but also for the next generation. So that's the important point. And related to that, we create this Brazilian Center for Sustainable Livestock, and it's a partner of the agenda. And, excuse me. And Moroni, as a farmer, can I ask him to come? Moroni, please. Come here. Just to clarify that this man has a farmer in Brazil, and Amazonia is now in the media, but we have some alternative. I think fire is a problem, but from GASL, since the beginning of GASL in 2009 in Brazil, I presented this example for Henning, Liz, Alexandre, etc. But from that to now, we improved a lot. So this center has Moroni as a vet and a farmer. I'm doing research in this farm, which I think is very good and very important because we are close to the farm and we are doing research together. And also, we have his son, Levi, that's also here. And I would like to ask him to come. So I think that this commitment will be for this generation, but also for the next generation. And one of the main commitments is to improve and to extend, to upscale silvopastoral system as a sustainable alternative for livestock production. We believe that, and we do that more and more. Second, we need to convince our neighbors, because if you do alone, I think it's not fair. We need to expand this idea for the neighbors, and in Brazil, and I hope somewhere else. We are promoting direct action from GASL to farms. I know that Emmanuel is here, and he always take about the effect of GASL to farm, but I think it's a good example, because this guy came here from himself. He pays to come because he believes that's very important. And when I have opportunity to be here and learn with our friends here, some important point, because GASL say that's correct, for me it's a kind of stamp that we can promote in Brazil. Look, silvopastoral system is a part of the network. Grassland has value. It's important. It has more important. It's not only biomass, but has social impact, developing community impact, and so. When I learned that, I use that as a stamp to promote our system and our work in Brazil. And I think it's a moment to, at least in Brazil, I think we need to find a way to have a payment for environment service. If farms like him receive some money from what they are doing, I think it'll be fair, and it's a way to promote what we are doing. And we are trying to do research at the farmer level. And as far as I understood here, it will be very important, but you are already doing that. And last, I think better than words, I'd like to present to you a short video, it's just 3 minutes, about the improvements that this man and his son, of course with the help of us, he's doing there in Maranhão. Just to let you know, Maranhão is in the border of Amazon. And just to clarify again, we are not burning the forest. We are burning the area around the forest. And I'd like to show you the film. I give one word for him, for this man, and I try to translate. Quer falar alguma coisa?
Eu quero compartilhar com vocês esse momento, que é uma coroação do nosso trabalho, que isso começou com meu pai em 1962.
He's saying that it's a very important moment for him, because it's not only his work, but it's a work that started from his father many years ago.
E ele começou a deixar árvores nas pastagens em função daquelas queimadas que deram muito prejuízo e morreram muitos animais dele naquele momento.
Instead to cut the trees, his father said, no, we keep the trees, and because trees are very good to recover the farm degradation.
Há 20 anos eu vim para o Maranhão e nós conseguimos uma fazenda e começamos a aplicar o mesmo método de deixar as árvores.
20 years ago, he left his place in the south of Brazil and he moved to the north because of the price of the land, etc. But instead to cut everything again, as they are doing in Brazil, they preserve the trees.
Há 10 anos atrás, nós encontramos na CIPAV, Colômbia, e confirmamos que nosso caminho estava correto, porque o trabalho da Colômbia, de maneira mais científica, encontrou com a nossa prática e foi uma combinação perfeita para o sistema.
And 10 years ago, we put 20 farmers in a fly to Colombia, because farmers, they want to see. And we went there and we were received by CIPAV, and Julian was there. And after that, we changed a lot the mind of the farmers. And especially for this guy.
Hoje temos uma fazenda completamente preparada para enfrentar os desafios do futuro. Já trabalhamos nela há 20 anos e hoje temos um equilíbrio entre o social, o ambiental e o econômico. É uma fazenda muito rentável, ok?
Thank you. I show the video. Where is it?
Perfect.
Seja bem-vindo à Fazenda Mona Lisa, localizada na região oeste do Maranhão, a 45 quilômetros da cidade de Imperatriz. A fazenda conta com 900 hectares, no qual 500 são designados para o sistema silvipastoril e 400 destinados exclusivamente para a reserva natural. O sistema silvipastoril foi obtido pela regeneração natural de árvores, arbustos e leguminosas nativas, como estilosantes e o calopogônio consorciados com gramíneas exóticas. Na fazenda, visando o aumento da biomassa forrageira, foram introduzidos também a Titônia diversifolia e a Gliricidia sepium. A adubação das pastagens é baseada principalmente no fosfato natural e calcário. A água subterrânea é utilizada de forma consciente e por isso continua límpida e abundante. 4 famílias trabalham por aqui em atividades diferentes.
Ali eu acho bom, o gado é comportado, a gente, 2 pessoas levam qualquer gado para o curral, leva atrás, no curral 2 pessoas mexem, eu acho muito bom aqui. Eu vivo com minha família aqui, já tem um bocado de tempo que eu vivo com ele, então aqui tá bom.
A fazenda é autossuficiente em energia, possui painéis solares fotovoltaicos.
Isso é uma prática do que a gente chama de geração distribuída. São locais distintos onde você faz sua própria geração de energia. Essa produção vai beneficiar tanto a fazenda quanto outras unidades consumidoras dentro da região do Maranhão.
Recentemente, a Fazenda Mona Lisa passou também a investir na produção de mel e, consequentemente, na polinização. A apicultura ganha cada vez mais espaço por aqui. O ambiente é propício. A florada do Botão de Ouro não é apenas bonita de se ver.
Na minha visita aqui na propriedade Mona Lisa, eu observei na diversidade de florada que tem, a Botão de Ouro, vassourinha, todo um ecossistema voltado para a atividade apícola.
A agrofloresta encontrada na propriedade forma corredores biológicos e revela uma pecuária produtiva. Por toda a sua sustentabilidade, a Fazenda Mona Lisa integra a agenda da Organização das Nações Unidas para a Alimentação e Agricultura, FAO, e recebe pesquisadores do mundo todo.
Além dessas técnicas contemporâneas, utiliza-se também de parcerias com universidades na busca de dados científicos que podem ainda mais potencializar os resultados dessa propriedade e, com isso, alcançar os objetivos de sustentabilidade apregoados pela ONU.
A Fazenda Mona Lisa conta com 1.150 animais divididos entre Nelore, Cruz Nelore e Angus. Todos os anos são produzidos por aqui 480 animais que pesam entre 450 a 540 quilos. A alimentação do gado é dividida entre o pasto, a silagem produzida na própria fazenda, além da mistura mineral e suplementos com ureia.
A Fazenda Mona Lisa é uma fazenda que está preparada para produzir ao longo do tempo. Todas as práticas são sustentáveis e vem dando certo, vem ganhando produtividade e nós não temos dúvida nenhuma que as próximas gerações com esse sistema, está garantido a sobrevivência e a produtividade do campo.
Fazenda Mona Lisa, produzindo com sustentabilidade.
Thank you very much to the Academia Research Cluster and Rogerio Moroni for this important testimony. We are going to continue now with the LAMP network. Ulf, would you please come to the stage?
Thank you, Eduardo. We had, on Wednesday, we had a brief meeting in the LAMP network. It was an open meeting, and we were a very qualified, not that large group discussing how to improve the work in the LAMP network. And first, the commitment I want to put forward is that our university, SLU in Uppsala in Sweden, we will take on, continue the work as being the secretariat for the LAMP network. Our university management has put resources aside for continuing that work. What we find in the discussions here the day before yesterday is that it's a wider geographic scope is needed. We miss a lot of inputs from North America, from South America in our work. And I hope that this kind of announcement here or this meeting will trigger to more inputs from the Americas. We also realized that it's not that much from the pig sector, nor from the beef sector. I hope that the examples in the new version will not only come from Europe. That could be easily arranged, but it would be appreciated if it could come a good example and good practices from South America and North America as well. We also had a very interesting conversation about the environment, the spread of antimicrobials in the environment, and whether that fits in our good practices is still to see. So these things are to be included in next version of the good practices for responsible use of antibiotics. And our website, I think it happened something with this slide here, but the website you find through the GASL website or at our university. Just Google LAMP SLU. And I also want to take this opportunity to do a promo for an ongoing massive open online course that our university is running at the moment. It's open some more weeks. It's called Effective Livestock Production with Low Use of Antibiotics. In the first run, in the spring when we was running that one, it was participants from 151 countries all over the world. So that is our commitment for now. Thank you so much.
Many thanks, Ulf. We have also brief statements from other GASL partners. Is there anyone who would like to come and express a commitment? We are running a little bit short of time, but you are welcome to come and do a brief statement. This is the NGO cluster, yes? Okay. And also the social movements cluster. Thank you, Nidja Godje, for your statement.
Very quick, we don't have, good morning everybody. We don't have a PowerPoint presentation. But as a group, we are committed to continue to work, support, and innovate with the groups we already work with, especially smallholders, pastoralists, and women in livestock rearing. We also commit to bring visibility to this work and to the communities we work with in different ways. For example, many of you might have seen this publication which we have outside here. So this is one example. We also will work together and look at other ways in which we can bring visibility to the work that we're doing. And finally, we commit to share our learnings as NGOs here. The NGO cluster is mainly 5 NGOs who constantly engage with each other, but we also want to reach out to many, many more NGOs to share our learnings, experiences, knowledge, and concerns with each other as a group, so our successes can be scaled up and perhaps our failures not repeated again. Thank you.
Many thanks, Nitya. Pablo Freire from the Social Movements Cluster.
Thank you very much. Well, civil society movements, we are a particularly important sector because we are producers, so we are part of the private sector, no? But we are mostly small-scale producer, but we are billions of families or people have to understand that our sector produces richness and for our countries, and we be able to give safe and cheap food for the world, especially for more vulnerable groups. And we are part of GASL from a lot of years, and we are learning a lot of our participation in action networks. And for example, we are including experience in cell phone applications to share information about climate prevention, solutions on animal health, and we are learning with the guidelines of the LEAP partnerships in different pastoral systems. We are improving our practices in silvopastoral systems. So in this case, we developed a strong proposal for convivence among animals and forests, very important in a lot of places of the world. And we want to continue offering to you thousands of farms all around the world to make road tests, to be demonstrative farms for good practices, and to be those who share learnings to other producers and all the society. That is very important to communicate improves and good practices and what we are doing, improving and collaborating in those with people say about extension systems. So we have a lot of knowledge, and sometimes this knowledge have not, or people want scientific support of this knowledge, so we have to work together with scientists to have strong fundaments of the solution that we promote. So we are, sometimes we are going to continue supporting a global agenda, because we think that we are not the problem. We are part of the solution, but if we work together, and global agenda is the way to do it. So thank you to be part on, we want to continue working together. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Pablo. We also would like to give the opportunity to non-partners of GASL to express their views on these, any actions that you are implementing or will implement in favor of innovation in sustainable livestock systems. Yes? Janet. Thank you, Janet.
Hi, Janet Helms with Inner IKEA Group. IKEA has a very robust strategy around sustainability. It goes across all of our entire food chain. So we have a people and planet commitment to be positive by 2030. So we're doing that in a multitude of ways across forestry products, across plastics, across food. And I'm here with IKEA food business. So just wanted to share what we're doing. Thank you.
Many thanks, Janet. I see Andrew Bison coming to the stage from USAID. Thank you, Andrew.
So USAID is not yet a partner of GASL, but we hope in the near future that we will change that situation. I'd like to thank the organizers and our hosts for such an excellent meeting, and we're very encouraged. We can take a lot of positive messages back to encourage that we will join. In terms of innovation, we fund a lot of agricultural research through our Innovation Lab system, and we'll continue to do that. These are implemented very largely through the land-grant universities and our partners in developing countries. We have our flagship Livestock Systems Innovation Lab. We heard from them in some of the opening plenary sessions. But we have a range of innovation labs, including food safety, nutrition, sustainable intensification, and risks and markets, all of which have implications for the livestock sector. I can't go into the details now, but if you Google feedthefuture.gov, you'll find a lot more information about the whole program and those innovation labs and the work that they do. We also support our good friends at ILRI, and we'll continue to do that. They need little introduction. You're very familiar with their work. I would like to flag a little bit around the innovation for resilience. We haven't heard a tremendous amount about resilience, but we have livestock, but also I think we need to keep that human-centered focus on the livestock keepers. And a lot of the challenges in the countries that we work in are facing multiple shocks. So we have a lot of innovation-based research around resilience and building that. So that's things, conventional things, technologies like development of vaccines, but also things like index insurance and other things that build the capacities and resilience of the people. And I was interested in the videos and several of the comments from the groups this morning is that innovation often takes the form of technologies, but it must also include the different and novel practices, whether that's public-private partnerships or leveraging some indigenous knowledge to expand the resilience of people. And one example that, just to throw that out there, is at the moment we're working in Somalia with some Somali dairies where they are leasing camels, or like camel keepers are leasing their animals back to dairies in times of drought as a drought avoidance strategy to build the resilience of those communities. They receive an income, and then when the rains reoccur and the animals go back to their farms, the livestock keepers reassume the ownership of those animals. So innovation can take many different forms, and I think maybe a final comment is that as part of our approach that we support, we don't just support the innovations themselves, but see them as a system that comes up with the idea, but it's critical that the idea is adopted. And so we try and build the capacity of local researchers, local extension systems, so that great ideas don't sit on the shelf in a laboratory or in the minds of some people, but are actually shared and spread. And I think this is an important component of innovation, is that it is scaled out, and we look to the private sector and our extension systems and to build the capacity to really make an impact. There are great innovations that we know about right now that are still not being implemented in the field. And so our sort of innovation systems approach, which we'll continue to support, is intended to try and make sure that we actually achieve impact with these innovations. Thank you.
Many thanks to Andrew. Is there anybody else from among the stakeholders of GASL? Yes, please.
So good morning, everybody. This is my first time at a GASL meeting, and I am with a company called TrustBix Inc., and we're a technology company, but I think my more important roles are, I've been a cattle producer for 40 years, I have children that are now ranching, and I have 10 grandchildren, and 6 of those grandchildren are showing a passion for agriculture. I sit on the Canadian Roundtable for Sustainable Beef on the National Council. I'm also a participant in the Canada 2020 Agri-Food Policy Labs, and I do a lot of speaking in Canada and the US about sustainability and the Canadian Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. Many of you may not be aware that we are the first country in the world to have a certified sustainable supply chain for beef. We actually are marketing sustainable beef through some of our retailers. The sustainable supply chain would never have happened without the multi-stakeholder partnerships between NGOs, not-for-profit organizations, producer organizations, but more importantly, the retailers. And what's significant about the 1,750 producers that are now certified sustainable beef producers is that they are receiving financial benefits back directly to their operation, being recognized as certified sustainable producers. So I'm pretty proud to say that over the 2 years that we've run the pilot project, we've paid $1 million back to those 1,750 beef producers that have gone to the trouble of being in a third-party certified sustainable audit and then registering with our technology, and we track those animals and put that attribute on those animals so that we can deliver it to the retailers and say, we know that these animals have come through a fully certified supply chain. And I'm going to give kudos to McDonald's for starting us on this path and for making the global statement that they were going to do this. So everything I see happening here today heartens me tremendously. There's a lot of requests for science and research and all the good feelings, but now we need to get some partners involved and make this happen on a global basis for multiple species. So I've really enjoyed your conference and I hope to attend more. Thank you.
Many thanks. When we have a last opportunity, Costa Rica would like to share something. Okay. Thank you very much for these important contributions and actions that you are taking in favor of livestock sustainable development. Okay.
Buenos días, unas pocas palabras y además en español. Mi nombre es Mauricio Chacón, yo trabajo en el Ministerio de Agricultura y Ganadería de Costa Rica. Y bueno, tal vez quisiera decirles a ustedes que agradecemos profundamente ser parte de este espacio, que además en sí mismo la agenda global, creemos, es un espacio de innovación y todos los que formamos parte de un espacio de innovación entramos a su vez en una espiral de innovación que a veces nos cuesta conscientemente capitalizar. Costa Rica es un país que está en el centro de las Américas, un país pequeño en términos de extensión y de población ganadera. Sin embargo, creemos que hemos tomado una ruta disruptiva en términos de desarrollo ganadero, y aquí es importante decirles a ustedes que hay para nosotros dos tipos de acciones disruptivas. Una es el cambio tecnológico, la otra es el desarrollo de políticas públicas. Ambas para nosotros son importantes. De estos días hemos recogido 12 aspectos importantísimos. Para nosotros es importante una política pública integral, y por eso a partir del 2020 que el país está entrando en una etapa de desarrollo de un plan nacional de descarbonización de la economía, en donde el eje 8 de la descarbonización es ganadería sostenible. Vamos a considerar en la política pública 2020-2030 incluir elementos de integración de pago de servicios ambientales en ganadería, desarrollo tecnológico, gobernanza, desarrollo de mercados, cambio climático y financiamiento. Estos son elementos que hemos recogido de estos días, que hemos recogido también de las sesiones anteriores de la agenda global, y nuestro compromiso quizá es en la próxima reunión, seamos nosotros o sea nuestra autoridad institucional, compartir con ustedes nuestros avances en el desarrollo de política pública. Creo que es un compromiso que también el sector público debe asumir, no solamente la ciencia, compartir resultados de innovación en tecnologías, sino que creo que el sector público también debe compartir resultados de avance en el desarrollo de políticas públicas. Gracias.
Many thanks. Now we will finish with Ilse Kohler Rolfsson. Thank you, Ilse.
Yes, I'm Ilse Kohler Rolfsson, and I'm, by being the coordinator of the League for Pastoral Peoples, I'm tied up with the NGO group, but I'm also part of the private sector because I co-founded India's first micro-camel dairy. And we've heard a lot at this conference about beef, but I believe the camel is actually going to be the dairy animal of the future in a scenario where temperatures are rising and where water levels are dropping. So the camel has an enormous potential for the future, and I think we're going to need it. And I think if you look at innovation, we should look at using the camel as a dairy animal in the future, and also that we look at nomadic systems as a very important means of production in the future. I've been to many or several GASL meetings, starting with the one in Phuket in Thailand, I don't know how many years ago, but I'd like to say I'm really pleased how GASL has been developing, and I think it's going to be an important agency in the future. Thanks.
Many thanks, and over to Susan for instructions on how we are going to continue.